The wreck in the desert. The desert was silent. Endless sand stretching under a burning sun. For years, people had told stories of strange lights that had fallen from the sky one stormy night. Most ignored it, thinking it was only a tale or an old meteor strike. But buried beneath the shifting dunes lay something far greater, something forgotten, something dangerous. It was a broken starship, abandoned long ago by its alien masters. The wreck was half buried in rock and sand, its blackened hull cracked, scorched, and silent. To the human eye, it looked dead, like a skeleton left to rot under the desert wind. But if someone had placed a hand upon the strange alien metal, they would have felt a faint pulse, like a heart still beating in its sleep. One night, a group of treasure hunters stumbled upon the wreck. Their truck's headlights caught the strange metallic curves, and they froze. "This isn't rock," one whispered, knocking on the surface, which rang like a bell. The metal was cold, yet unbreakable, not even scratched by their tools. They left in fear, never speaking of it again. Months later, military scouts discovered the wreck during a satellite scan. The images showed unnatural shapes hidden in the dunes. Within weeks, the entire desert was sealed off. Soldiers guarding every road and scientist teams flown in under the cover of night. The world above went on as normal, but deep in that desert, humanity's greatest secret was being uncovered. Dr. Aaron Keller, a young scientist, stood before the half-buried hull, eyes wide. "This isn't a meteor," he whispered to his commander. "This is a starship." The commander only nodded. "Then dig it out." Machines roared as sand was pushed aside, revealing more of the colossal wreck. The ship was massive, hundreds of meters long, its wings broken. Engines ripped open as if torn in battle. Strange symbols ran along the hull, glowing faintly even after centuries. When the team tried to cut through with plasma torches, the flames bent away like water refusing to touch oil. No human weapon could even scratch it. At night, some workers swore they heard whispers. Radios picked up strange static, and shadows moved across the sand even when no one was there. "Maybe it's haunted," one soldier joked nervously, but in truth, the ship was not dead, only sleeping. Weeks passed, and the government moved the wreck into an underground facility. Hidden beneath the desert, it was given a name, Project Zeus, a code only the highest knew. The world outside never knew what was being unearthed. But whispers spread among the workers. "This ship isn't broken," they said. "It's waiting, Doctor." Keller worked late every night, studying the alien symbols. He ran his hands across the hull, listening, almost feeling the ship breathe. There were moments when the lights dimmed and the power generators failed for no reason. Every time that happened, the wreck seemed to glow faintly, as if feeding on the energy. One evening, while the desert storm raged above, Keller discovered something strange. The symbols were not random. They were instructions, warnings perhaps. One symbol appeared again and again, shaped like a rising sun. He traced it, and suddenly, the alien metal warmed under his hand. The wreck shuddered softly, dust falling from its broken hull. Everyone froze, staring in fear. "Sir!" It moved. A soldier whispered. The commander barked orders. "Step back. Secure the site." But Keller only whispered to himself. "It's alive." That night he could not sleep. The wreck haunted his mind. The whispers echoed in his dreams. When he awoke, he knew the truth. This was no simple relic. The aliens had abandoned it, but not destroyed it. Why would they leave such a powerful weapon behind? What did they fear? Far above the desert, satellites caught faint energy signals. They were small, like sparks in the night, but enough to be noticed in the cold depths of space. Others were watching. The galaxy had forgotten Earth for centuries, believing it weak and unimportant. But now something had stirred, and ancient eyes turned back toward the little blue planet. Back in the underground base, the wreck pulsed one more time, faint but certain. The desert was no longer silent. Something alien had awakened, and humanity had no idea what it was about to unleash. The hidden Project Zeus, the desert storm still roared above, but far below the sand, the wreck of the alien ship had been moved. It now rested inside a massive underground chamber, carved out by human machines in secret. No civilian knew what was happening there, not even the local people who lived near the dunes. To the world outside, the desert was just empty land, but to those who worked inside, it was the beating heart of humanity's greatest secret. The government gave the project a name, Zeus. To the engineers it meant lightning, unstoppable and divine. To the scientists it meant discovery, the chance to learn from technology far beyond Earth. And to the soldiers it meant power, a weapon that could change the balance of the galaxy. Forever, floodlights lit up the broken alien starship, its dark hull covered in scaffolding, machines, and human hands trying to understand it. Every day, hundreds of workers entered the underground chamber, and every night, they left with more questions than answers. Nothing on Earth could cut the alien metal, nothing could melt it, and yet the wreck itself responded to touch, to sound, to power. Some swore the ship was listening, watching, waiting. Dr. Aaron Keller stood at the edge of the platform, staring at the massive ship that filled the chamber. His mind raced with questions that no one could answer. Why had the aliens abandoned this ship? Instead of destroying it, why leave something so powerful behind? And most of all, why did it feel like the ship wanted to wake up? Keller worked with his team day and night, running scans, testing samples, and translating symbols. Every test revealed more mysteries. When they aimed X-rays at the wreck, the machines broke down. When they used sound waves, the wreck seemed to hum back, and when they connected generators to the hull, sparks of alien light flashed across its surface. The commander of Project ZEUS, General Marcus Harlow, was a tall, cold man who trusted only results. He walked through the chamber one morning, his boots echoing on the steel floor. "How long before this thing gives us something useful?" he demanded. Keller hesitated. "Sir, this ship is not like anything we know. It's not dead. It's responding." The general narrowed his eyes. "Then make it talk." That night, the workers left the chamber, but Keller stayed. The storm outside shook the ground, dust falling from the ceiling. He sat alone before the wreck, tracing the alien symbols once more. His hand brushed across the rising sun symbol, the one that had glowed before. This time, it pulsed faintly, like a heartbeat. Keller's breath caught. "You're not broken, are you?" he whispered. The lights in the chamber flickered. Monitors crackled with static. Far above, power lines feeding the base went dark. Whole towns losing electricity for minutes. The ship was drinking power, feeding itself. And Keller knew he had just awakened something far beyond his control. The next morning, chaos spread through the facility. Engineers reported entire systems failing without reason. Soldiers whispered of shadows moving along the hull when no one was near. A worker screamed after hearing a voice in his ear, though he stood alone. General Harlow dismissed it as nerves. "You're working too hard," he snapped. But Keller knew better. During a private meeting, Keller told Harlow, "Sir, this ship is not just technology. It's alive in some way. It's reacting to us, and it doesn't want to stay broken." Harlow slammed his fist on the table. "Alive or not, I don't care. Turn it into something we can use. That's an order." The weeks that followed became darker. Alien whispers grew louder in the static of the radios. Some workers refused to enter the chamber at night. One guard claimed he saw the ship's broken engines glow blue for a moment, like a breath of fire. The commander ignored all reports, but Keller wrote everything down, every detail, every warning. Meanwhile, deep in the galaxy, something else stirred. A distant listening post caught the faint pulse of alien energy coming from Earth. The operators froze, recognizing the signal. "It can't be," one whispered. "That ship was lost centuries ago." The news spread quickly across alien channels. If humans had found it, if they were reawakening it, then the balance of power in the galaxy was about to change. Back on Earth, the storm finally cleared, leaving the desert sky clear and calm. But underground, Project Zeus was no longer calm. The ship pulsed with hidden life, unseen by human eyes. Its heart was waking, and soon, the galaxy would remember what they had abandoned. The humans thought they were studying it, controlling it, turning it into their project. But the truth was more dangerous. The ship had its own plan, and Earth was about to become its new home. Awakening the core, the underground chamber shook as if the Earth itself was alive. Alarms screamed, red lights flashed, and soldiers rushed to secure their stations. At the center of the chaos, the alien wreck pulsed faintly, its dark hull glowing with strange veins of blue light. For the first time since it crashed centuries ago, the Starship was stirring. Dr. Aaron Keller stood frozen on the platform, his eyes wide with both fear and wonder. The ship had responded to him again, this time stronger than before. He had touched the rising sun symbol, and the wreck had answered like it was waiting for his hand. Around him, engineers shouted, "Power is draining from the grid." Monitors flickered, and computers failed one by one. It was as if the alien ship was pulling the life out of every human machine nearby. General Harlow stormed into the control room, his voice like thunder. "What happened? Who gave the order? To activate anything?" Keller tried to explain. "Sir, I didn't activate it. The ship responded on its own. It's waking up." Harlow's eyes narrowed. "Then shut it down before it kills us all." But there was no shutting it down. The wreck pulsed again, stronger, the glow spreading across its cracked hull. For a moment, the entire chamber was lit by alien light, shadows stretching long across the walls. The soldiers raised their weapons. But no bullet could harm what they were looking at. Keller whispered, "It's not broken. It's alive." For weeks, the scientists had tried to access the wreck's insides with human tools. Plasma cutters failed, drills broke, explosives did nothing. But now, as the core stirred, the ship seemed to sense them. Panels shifted, and hidden doors slowly slid open, revealing a glowing heart within the ship. The humans stared in awe, breathless. It wasn't just a machine, it was a living core. A fusion of metal and something beyond human understanding. Keller stepped closer, ignoring the shouts behind him. Inside the wreck, a crystal-like heart pulsed with energy, glowing brighter with each beat. The sound was deep, like a slow drum. Echoing through the chamber, he felt the vibrations in his chest, as if the ship's heartbeat was syncing with his own. "This is it," he whispered. "The core is alive." The moment he said those words, the alien symbols along the walls lit up in sequence. The wreck responded, energy flowing through veins of light. Machines sparked, scaffolding shook, and a low hum filled the air. Every human in the chamber felt it. The ship was not theirs. The ship was choosing. General Harlow barked orders. "Secure Keller. Step back from the wreck." But before soldiers could move, the ground trembled violently. A wave of energy shot from the core, knocking them to their knees. Monitors shattered, weapons overheated, and one by one, the lights in the chamber went dark. Only the ship remained glowing, like a sleeping beast opening its eyes. Keller stumbled back, his heart pounding. The ship wasn't just feeding on power, it was merging with it. Learning, adapting. Human technology and alien design were becoming one. He realized something terrifying. This wreck wasn't simply waking, it was transforming. That night, Keller pored over his notes. He matched alien symbols with what he had seen. The rising sun symbol, repeated so many times, wasn't just a mark. It meant rebirth. He wrote the word in his notebook with shaking hands. The aliens had abandoned this ship, fearing what it could become, and now humans were the ones giving it life. Far away, in the depths of the galaxy, the signal of the awakening core spread like a ripple in the dark. Alien empires who had once dismissed Earth now froze in fear. One council gathered in silence, their eyes glowing with unease. "The humans have found it." One alien leader hissed. "They cannot control it," another argued. But deep down, they all knew if the humans succeeded, the galaxy would never be the same again. Back in the underground base, The workers whispered among themselves. Some wanted to flee, claiming the ship was cursed. Others spoke of opportunity, of power that could protect Earth from any enemy. But Keller could not shake the feeling that the ship was not just a weapon. It was something more. It wanted to be reborn, and it had chosen Earth as its cradle. As dawn broke above the desert, the underground chamber still glowed faintly with alien light. The wreck was no longer just a wreck. The core had awakened, and nothing could stop what was coming. The humans thought they had discovered a treasure, but what they had truly done was open a door, and behind that door waited something that had been sleeping for far too long. The desert outside was silent again, but it was a silence filled with warning, the kind of silence that comes before a storm. Project Zeus was no longer just an experiment. It had become a heartbeat, a living force, and soon the galaxy would learn that the humans had not just awakened a ship, they had awakened a legend. The first transformation, the underground chamber, no longer felt like a human place. It had become something else, something alive. The wreck, once silent and broken, now pulsed with a steady rhythm, like a heartbeat. Every time the crystal core glowed, the walls hummed, the air shook, and every machine in the facility trembled as if bowing before it. Engineers and soldiers gathered daily around the ship, their faces pale but their eyes burning with curiosity. No one could deny it anymore. The alien wreck was no longer a corpse. It was becoming something new, and humans were watching its rebirth. General Harlow stood with his arms crossed, his jaw tight as he studied the glowing vessel. "It's changing," he muttered, almost to himself. Dr. Aaron Keller, standing beside him, nodded slowly. "Yes, sir, it's transforming." Harlow turned to him. "Explain." Keller swallowed, his throat dry. "Every human system we've tried to attach, every generator, every weapon, every engine, they don't just fail, they're absorbed. The ship isn't rejecting us, sir. It's learning from us." As if to prove his words, sparks rained down from scaffolding where engineers had bolted human steel plates onto the alien hull. The alien metal shimmered, shifting like liquid, then swallowed the plates whole. When the glow faded, the human steel was gone, transformed into the same unbreakable alien alloy. The soldiers gasped, one whispering, "It eats our machines." But Keller whispered something else. "No. It merges with them." Within days, the ship's broken engines began to reshape. Twisted metal unfolded like the wings of an insect, revealing glowing vents inside. Human nuclear cores had been attached by the engineers to test reactions now. Those same cores pulsed within the alien structure, burning brighter, stabilized by the ship's own systems. The impossible had happened. Alien technology and human engineering had fused into one. The scientists could hardly believe their eyes. "This is no longer their ship," one whispered in awe. "It's ours now," another said, trembling, but Keller wasn't so sure. He watched the glow spreading across the hull, the way the ship seemed to breathe. He couldn't shake the thought that it wasn't humans who were in control. The ship had its own will, and humans had only given it the chance to rise again. Rumors spread across the facility like wildfire. Some called the ship the Phoenix, rising from its ashes. Others called it the monster, afraid of what it could become. But officially, it had a new name, Zeus 1. The first of its kind. General Harlow liked the sound of it. A name that promised power and fear. "This," he told his men, "will make Earth untouchable." The transformation was not silent. Every time the ship absorbed human tech, power, grids across entire regions flickered. Cities hundreds of miles away experienced blackouts. Civilians whispered of strange storms forming over the desert. Lightning without rain, thunder without clouds. The world had no idea what was happening, but it felt the ripples of something unnatural. Then came the first test. Keller and his team connected a human railgun to the side of the hull. Normally, the weapon required huge energy banks and could only fire once every few minutes. But once attached, the alien ship's veins of light crawled over it, and in seconds, the railgun transformed. It was no longer human-made, it had become something else. When they fired, the shot burned through reinforced targets like paper, leaving a glowing trail of melted stone. The engineers stared in silence, one whispering, "That wasn't just a shot. That was a star's breath." But the transformation came with danger. Workers reported hearing the ship whisper when they walked near. Some swore the ship spoke in their own language, calling their names. One soldier collapsed after touching the hull, his eyes wide with terror, screaming, "It showed me the stars, it showed me war." General Harlow dismissed it as fear and exhaustion. But Keller knew better. The ship wasn't just absorbing machines, it was touching human minds. 2. Far across the galaxy, the alien empires were no longer laughing. They intercepted signals, grainy images of a human ship glowing with impossible energy. At first, they mocked, saying humans were fools for playing with fire. But when they saw the readings of its power, their voices turned to whispers of fear. "The Terrans are merging with it," one alien warlord spat. "They don't understand what they're unleashing," another replied. "If they finish the transformation, not even our fleets will stand against them." Back in the underground chamber, Keller stood before the ship, his notebook heavy in his hands. He wrote a single line that shook him as he put ink to paper. "It is not their ship anymore, and it is not ours. It is something new, something born between us." The hum of the core grew stronger that night. The hull shifted again, shaping itself smoother, sleeker, deadlier. The wreck was gone. The first Terran superweapon was taking form. And while some cheered, others feared that humanity had given birth to a beast they could never control. As the desert winds howled above, hidden from the eyes of the world, the first transformation had begun, and with it, the countdown to a war the galaxy was not ready to face. The galactic alarm in the deep void of space. Far beyond Earth's reach, the signal spread. It was faint at first, a whisper carried on invisible currents. But across the stars, machines designed to detect forbidden's energy stirred awake. One by one, alien listening posts came alive, their operators staring in disbelief at the glowing readings. "It cannot be," one alien muttered, his scaled fingers shaking over the console. "The signal is clear," his partner replied. "It's the Arethus core." Silence filled the chamber, the name alone enough to drain color from their faces. That core had been lost centuries ago, abandoned on a backwater planet no one cared about. The humans had found it, and worse, they were waking it within hours. The news reached the Great Council of the Galactic Union. An emergency session was called. The massive hall filled with leaders of countless species. Their voices rose in anger and fear, echoing under the high domes. "The Terrans are fools," one shouted, his tentacles thrashing. "They tamper with what they do not understand." Another slammed a claw on the table. "If they finish the transformation, nothing in this galaxy can stop them." The eldest among them, a withered alien with eyes like molten silver, spoke softly. "You all laugh at humans, but you forget. They adapt faster than any species we have ever seen." His words chilled the hall. Adaptation, that was humanity's true weapon. If they had merged their crude machines with Arethus technology, the galaxy might soon face a new predator. Back on Earth, the underground facility buzzed with tension. General Harlow stood before his officers, his voice hard as steel. "Make no mistake, what we are building here will not stay secret for long. The galaxy knows, and they will come." The soldiers exchanged uneasy glances, but their resolve held. For the first time in history, Earth had something the galaxy feared. Dr. Aaron Keller felt that fear too, but it was mixed with awe. He watched as the once broken wreck now reshaped itself daily. Alien metal flowed like liquid over human steel. Engines glowed brighter. Weapons hummed with strange energy. Each day, the ship looked less like wreckage and more like destiny. But Keller also saw the danger. He had noticed the way workers stared too long at the hull, their eyes distant. He heard whispers that weren't spoken by any human tongue, sometimes at night, when the chamber was empty. The ship glowed faintly as if it were dreaming. What it dreamed of, he did not know. Then came the first confirmed sighting. A satellite orbiting Earth caught a glimpse of something massive moving just beyond the moon's shadow. A sleek alien vessel, watching. The images were blurry, but the message was clear. The galaxy was already here, observing, waiting. General. Harlow slammed the images onto the conference table. They're watching us. They know we're building it. An officer asked, "Should we strike first, sir?" Harlow shook his head, his eyes cold. "No, let them watch, let them tremble. When Zeus 1 rises, they will know Earth is no longer prey." Far beyond, alien fleets began to mobilize. Armies that had ignored Earth for centuries suddenly prepared for war. Messages traveled across empires, some calling for immediate destruction of the humans, others warning against provoking them too soon. But all agreed on one thing: if the humans finished their work, the balance of power would shatter. Meanwhile, on Earth, the tension spread quietly. Blackouts grew worse across cities. Strange storms formed above the desert base. Civilians whispered of a secret weapon, of something being hidden. But the truth was stranger than rumor. Beneath their feet, humanity was reshaping destiny. Keller walked the chamber one night, his notebook clutched in his hand. The ship pulsed gently in the darkness, its glow reflecting in his eyes. He felt as if it were watching him, recognizing him, almost trusting him. He whispered, "What do you want from us?" For a moment, the hum grew louder, and in the silence between beats, Keller thought he heard a word. Not in English, not in alien, but in meaning: war. The next morning, the core pulsed brighter than ever, the hull reshaped with terrifying speed, sharp edges forming into sleek, deadly lines. The scaffolding around it collapsed as if rejected. The workers stumbled back in awe. One muttered, "It doesn't need us anymore." In orbit, the alien spy ship sent one final message before vanishing into hyperspace. Its transmission was simple: the humans have done the impossible. The weapon is alive. Across the galaxy, the alarm bell had been struck. Fleets turned toward Earth. Warlords whispered of invasion. Councils whispered of extermination. But deep in the underground chamber, humans whispered of something else. Not fear, but hope. For the first time, humanity was no longer just defending Earth. They were preparing to step into the stars with a weapon that no one could match. The galaxy had abandoned the wreck, thinking it worthless, but humans had seen not junk, but a challenge. And now, as Zeus 1 drew closer to completion, the galaxy's laughter had turned to fear. The alarm had been sounded. The countdown to war had begun. Rise of the superweapon. Desert night was silent, but far beneath the sand, the world was shaking. The alien wreck was gone, replaced by something alive, something new. Zeus 1 no longer looked like a broken corpse of metal. It had become a monster of steel and light, half human, half alien, and fully terrifying. The underground chamber could no longer contain it. Scaffolding had collapsed, walls had cracked, and the ship's massive form pressed against the limits of its prison. Engines glowed with burning blue fire, and the once dead core now pulsed. Like a star trapped inside metal, every beat of that core made the air tremble. Every hum rattled the bones of those who stood too close. General Harlow stood with his officers, arms folded behind his back. His face was carved in stone, but deep inside, even he felt the weight of what stood before them. "Years of hiding, years of weakness," he said quietly. "And now we hold the weapon that will change everything." Around him, soldiers nodded, some in fear, some in pride. For the first time, they believed Earth could fight back against the galaxy. Dr. Aaron Keller, however, saw something different. He had spent nights staring at the hull, watching it shift and reshape. It was no longer only human work, no longer alien design. It was something that had chosen to be reborn through them. Sometimes when the chamber was quiet, Keller swore the ship breathed, as if it waited for the day it could stretch its wings. That day came faster than anyone expected. The first test was simple. A barren stretch of desert, far from any city, had Then cleared, targets made of steel, concrete, and rock were lined up. Generals, scientists, and soldiers gathered to witness, their faces lit by the moon above. The massive doors of the underground chamber groaned open, dust falling like rain. And from the shadows, Zeus 1 rose for the first time. Engines roared, shaking the desert ground. Waves of heat poured across the sand, and animals fled for miles. The ship emerged like a beast freed from its cage, sleek and sharp. Glowing veins of light crawling across its armored body. Soldiers stared in silence, awestruck, some whispering. Prayers, even hardened veterans felt small before it. Activate the main weapon, General Harlow ordered, his voice steady. The crew inside the control center hesitated. Fear in their eyes, but when they touched the consoles, the ship responded instantly, as if it had been waiting for the command. Panels lit up, energy surged, and a deep hum filled the air. The crystal core blazed like a sun, and the front of the ship opened to reveal its weapon. Keller held his breath, his heart pounding. The weapon did not look like any human gun, nor any alien cannon. It was alive, shifting, glowing, humming like a song of destruction. When it fired, the night turned to day. A beam of energy, pure and blinding, tore through the desert. The targets vanished, melted into glowing rivers of stone. But the beam did not stop. It struck a mountain miles away. And in a single moment, the mountain was gone, ripped apart as if it had never existed. The shockwave rolled across the desert, knocking soldiers off their feet, shattering glass in distant towns. And then silence fell, a silence heavy with fear and awe. No one spoke at first, their ears still ringing, their hearts still racing. Finally, General Harlow broke the silence, his voice steady but his eyes burning with triumph. History has changed tonight, he said. This is no longer just Earth's weapon, it is Earth's shield. Our sword, our future. But not everyone felt pride. Keller's hands shook as he wrote in his notebook. He could not erase the sound, the hum of the weapon as it fired. It had not sounded like a machine. It had sounded like a voice, a roar. He whispered to himself. It wanted to fire. It wanted to destroy. Meanwhile, in the cold darkness of space, alien fleets froze as their sensors lit up. The test fire had not been a whisper. It was a scream. The energy spike traveled across the stars like a flare, impossible to ignore. Every empire that had mocked humanity now knew the truth. The humans had not only awakened the wreck, they had turned it into the most powerful weapon the galaxy had ever seen. Alien warlords sat in silence, their faces grim. The Terrans have built a dreadnought, one said, his voice trembling. Another slammed his claws on the table. We must strike before it leaves their world. But the eldest among them only whispered, no. If we strike too late, we die. If we strike too soon, we die faster. Back on Earth, soldiers cheered as Zeus 1 landed, its hull glowing, its engines roaring. To them, it was victory, a promise of survival, a warning to all enemies. But Keller stood apart, staring at the massive vessel. He saw not just a weapon, but a storm. Something that was no longer human, no longer alien, but something in between, and storms could not be controlled. Above the desert, lightning danced across the sky, though there were no clouds. The earth itself seemed to shiver under the weight of what had been born. The rise of the Superweapon was complete, and in the silence that followed, the galaxy held its breath. Humanity's answer, the sky above Earth, was no longer calm, hidden. Behind the moon, a vast alien fleet gathered, hundreds of warships, their hulls glowing with alien fire, engines burning like suns. Weapons pointed at the small blue planet. They had come not to warn, not to threaten, but to destroy on Earth. Deep beneath the desert, alarms rang through the underground base. Radar screens showed the massive fleet arriving, their numbers overwhelming. Soldiers rushed through the halls. Scientists packed up their data, and the commanders stood silent, staring at the impossible. It was the largest armada ever seen in human skies. General Harlow stood in the command room, his face grim. "So they've come at last," he muttered. Beside him, Dr. Aaron Keller's hands shook as he held his notebook. "We're not ready for this. Zeus 1 is still incomplete," he said quietly. But Harlow's eyes burned with iron resolve. "Ready or not, this is the fight we've been building toward. We either stand now, or Earth dies." The massive gates of the underground chamber groaned open once more. Dust and sand poured down as the ground split apart, and slowly, with engines blazing like the heart of a star, Zeus 1 rose into the night sky. Its alien-human hull shimmered, sleek and terrible, a predator born from two worlds. The soldiers on the ground stared upward, their fear turning into hope. For the first time in history, humanity had a warship that could face the stars. The alien fleet moved first. Columns of light and fire streaked toward Earth's atmosphere, weapons meant to turn cities into ash. But before the strikes could land, Zeus 1's core pulsed, veins of energy lit across its body, and a shield of glowing light unfolded around it. The alien fire struck, but instead of burning through, it shattered into sparks. The humans on the ground erupted into cheers. Earth was not helpless anymore. General Harlow's voice echoed through the command channels. "Return fire." Inside Zeus 1, consoles lit up, responding to every human touch as if the ship already knew what they wanted. The main weapon opened, humming like the roar of a living beast. A single beam of energy shot forth, pure and unstoppable. It sliced through an alien battleship like a knife through glass, leaving nothing but a burning husk drifting in orbit. The alien fleet staggered, their formation breaking. They had expected a crude human defense, not a monster born from their own forgotten technology. Warlords shouted in panic, their voices shaking across the comms. "It's impossible. The Terrans cannot wield that ship." But the evidence burned before their eyes. Humans were not only wielding it, they were mastering it. Ship after ship fell, torn apart by the fury of Zeus 1. Its weapons shifted between human railguns, alien plasma beams, and something that had never existed before. Every shot was faster, stronger, deadlier. The humans had not just copied alien weapons, they had improved them. But the aliens did not retreat. They poured their full strength into the battle, waves of fire raining down, fleets pressing forward. For a moment, even Zeus 1 trembled under the storm, its shields flickering, its hull groaning. In the command center, officers shouted, "We can't hold." But Keller placed his hand on the console, his eyes locked on the pulsing core, and the ship responded. The hum grew louder, the core blazing brighter. Energy surged through every weapon, every shield, every thruster. It was no longer a test, no longer a half-awakened relic. Zeus 1 was alive, and it wanted to fight. The next strike was unlike anything ever seen. The ship gathered energy, the air around it bending, and then it unleashed a storm, a wave of light that swept across the sky. Dozens of alien warships were ripped apart in an instant, their fragments burning like falling stars. The night turned into day, the earth trembled, and silence followed. The alien fleet broke, panic spreading like fire. Warlords shouted retreat. Orders, their once proud armada fleeing into the black void. They had come to erase humanity, but instead, they had been shattered. The galaxy had been warned. Earth was no longer weak, no longer prey, as the last enemy ship vanished. The silence of orbit returned. Zeus 1 floated above Earth, its hull glowing, its core beating steady. On the ground, soldiers cheered, voices shaking the desert air. For the first time, humanity had faced the galaxy and won. General Harlow stood tall, his voice steady as he addressed the command. "Today, Earth has spoken. They came to destroy us. But instead they learned who we are." His words echoed across the base. "We are not broken. We are not afraid, and from this day forward Earth answers to no empire." Keller looked at the great vessel through the viewing window. It floated like a guardian above the planet, beautiful and terrible. He whispered to himself, "They left us their trash, but we turned it into the greatest weapon the galaxy has ever seen." The ship's hum seemed to respond, low and steady, as if agreeing. Above the desert, the stars shone bright. But now they were no longer unreachable. Humanity had stepped into the galactic stage with fire in its hands. The wreck in the desert was gone. In its place stood Zeus One Earth's answer to the galaxy. And the galaxy would never forget it.